a pretty cool episode, I think, for y'all today. And I'm just gonna hop right into it. I'll let you know what I'm gonna have for my hot sauce, and then I actually have two beers today, and I don't have a hot sauce. I lied. I didn't feel like going out and getting a hot sauce, and this thing has been staring me in the face. I figured it'd probably be a good time to get the Crunch of Doom from the Choco Challenge Fuego Spice Company. So that's this here. If you watch the show, I believe it was generic spicy book stuff or hot book stuff. There's kind of something before this. I had the one the year previously, and it messed me up pretty good. So we're gonna hop into that one, and then should I? You want to know my beers, or you want to introduce some stuff on your end, and then we can hop into the beers?
Well, no, let you hop into the beers. Hop into the beers. You do that. I'll do mine. I'll do mine.
All right. So I have two beers for today. They're actually both really good. So I'm not quite sure how many of these I'm going to be drinking today, but this one right here, this is you've seen this company before. They had like that gold can before, but this one is pretty cool. So this is by Equal Parts. It's the Mark II. It's a Helles lager. I got this as a 6-pack the other day. I intended to just try it out and have one, and I drank 4. And I almost drank all of them. This is a really good beer. You also check it out. I believe they're from Houston, Texas. So if you want to know anything about them, it's Equal Parts Brewing Company, 3118 Harrisburg Boulevard, unit number 108. You can go ahead and check them out. The next one that I got, pretty excited about this one. I had this last year. This is by Martin House Brewing Company. This is a double berry sour ale with blueberries and blackberries. So this is a cool little label here. It's got a little berry bear action going on there.
Fucking sexy.
It's that color too. It's a nice sour beer for those people who are on the other. I feel like if you like IPAs, you don't like sours, and if you like sours, you don't like IPAs. So I'm kind of like
that's true. I don't really like sours, but I like that. I'm a shitbag.
All right, so that leaves you. What do you got for your hot sauce today? What you got for beers?
So what do I got today? I found this bad boy over at my local Ace Hardware store because they have like a barbecue section and whatnot, like for buying grills. So they have all this like sauce and rub, section. So because we're a horror show and we're, wrapping things up, and I said I'd go a little more badass than I had been all season. And definitely into next season, I'm probably going to up the ante a little more. This is Son of Zombie wing sauce, XXX hot. We're looking at some fucking ghost peppers up the ass here. I going in blind. I don't have anything to dip this sumbitch in, so I think I'm just gonna be doing shots here today. And I kind of just scrambled. I literally put my daughter down for a nap and then came in here. I was gonna have some chips with me, but fuck it. With me today. Now, obviously, as you figured out by now, we are pre-taping the episode. For reasons due to technical difficulties on my end. So I usually during the day like to have a coffee beer, but I couldn't find one. So I have Goofy Foot Brew, or no, excuse me, Escape Brewing Company in Trinity, Florida. I feel like I've had their beer before, but this is the Goofy Footed American Wheat Ale. Kind of a cool, kind of like a, ominous kind of horror. I don't even know, man. There's like, I don't know if that's supposed to be like blood or shit, but like, I was like, I'll take that.
Yeah.
I like my wheat ales. Nobody talks about them a lot, but I kind of dig them. They're good day drinking beers, honestly. Or if you're not trying to go too hardcore and get shit-faced. So, and they got a nice pour to them. I'm just pouring over here on the side. That's a bad pour. Actually, I should have said that. Yeah. Let's fucking all right. So this is our season finale. We wanted to go out with a little bit of a bang, and we wanted like a cool topic. And since it's award season for, I think the Grammys were last Sunday. I know I don't really watch these award shows anymore, But I thought, why don't we have our own like Oscars? Not necessarily with like a specific kind of era of movies instead of just doing a broad all horror Oscars, because that is just that's like an 8-hour episode, and B, it's a lot of ground. We would never finish research. So like honestly, I have my picks here, but like I know once we're done with this, I'm gonna be like, fuck, I should have gone with that movie. Fuck, that's a better performance. But here we are. You and I, we did a basically Oscars for horror films of the era you and I both kind of grew up in, the early 2000s, which is kind of starting to. People are looking back on it now. It's been like 20 years since, the American crossover from J-horror kind of thing, since Saw. So like, I don't know. We decided to kind of look back at that era, and we basically, you and I believe we have 12 categories, which I don't think is even the full amount of categories the Oscars has. I just realized we don't even have like a best original score. Maybe I'll throw it out there if I think of one in the middle of the show. But you and I today are going to go over the awards for best costume design, best visual effects, best sound design, best adapted screenplay, best original screenplay, best cinematography, best supporting actor, best supporting actress, best actor, best actress, best director, and the big one, a best picture from the era of the early 2000s, the aughts, I think is what they call it now, from 2000 to 2010. So before we get going on that, I'm gonna have some hot sauce.
Yeah.
Are you diving in? Like, I feel like I should go first. You're trying that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll let you go first. I mean, I'm gonna get this beer here. I don't really know when to start this thing. I mean, I might just be dying for the entire thing. I'll cut it open and we can check it out. But the cool thing for anybody that is not aware, one of the reasons why I like Fuego Spice Company. Oh man. Oh, excuse me.
That was just a sneeze. I thought you were like.
No, my body's getting ready. It knows it's coming up. So they do this really cool thing where I think it says it somewhere on here, but they don't. I think it's like one of these like donates a couple different meals or something to it's End Hunger, ChocoChallenge.com, Feeding America.
Dude, hell yeah! I didn't know that. I would have gotten
so they got
more into maybe seeking that out.
Yeah, they got a nice little thing going for the hungries.
All right,
but this is
taking a swig in the cap here. So
swig in the cap. Well, this is the chocolate bar, I guess.
The fucking brick.
The brick. Oh, I mean, it's still wrapped and everything. So I'm just gonna cut this open here.
Yeah, this one's good. Ooh. Oh, that hits.
All right.
Oh, all right.
So this is the chocolate bar, I guess. I mean, it looks pretty normal, but I feel like what does this have in it? It's crunchy milk chocolate infused with the unreleased razor pepper. Cool. Okay, so it's smells. This is going to be deceptive. I guess
mine goes down easy, but like it fucking just is like you can just feel it coating your throat and burning it. But it's soothing though in a weird way. Oh, there he goes.
Well, it's nice. I think I'm going to regret it, but it's nice because it doesn't kick right away. But it's ramping up. It is ramping up. All right.
My beer is kind of warm too, so this is not helping.
Ooh.
All right. While you're dying over there.
Yeah.
Wait, I'm gonna wait and just see your reaction here. Hold on. This is my reaction.
This building. I didn't eat the whole thing yet. I don't know. Should I eat the whole thing or like span it out through the episode?
Whatever is comfortable for you, but we should get started on our nominees.
Let's get started.
Or on our awards, I should say. So let's kick things off kind of at the bottom here. And I feel like horror usually does a good horror usually does a great job with things like kind of costume designs and whatnot, and like, you know, especially if you're doing like period pieces, like period piece films and whatnot, or just like creature you know, creature makeup stuff. So we're gonna kick things up. He's trying to focus so hard. We're gonna kick things off here with best costume design, and I'm gonna go first, so you have a little bit of time to just kind of come down from that if you can.
Sure.
So there's a lot of this one was a hard one because I couldn't find a lot of like period piece movies, so I kind of started to go with one nominee that I will say is 2010's The Wolfman remake with Benicio del Toro and Anthony Hopkins. That's a period piece, and I don't think it's the best movie. You know, obviously I'm a fan of the original, but that was initially going to be my winner, but then I crossed it off because of the creature designs. Creature, you can tell it's men in, you know, men are women or whatever, contortionists in suits or makeup effects suits and kind of stuff. This could also fall under best visual effects, but I picked something else for visual effects. I'm going with 2005's The Descent.
Ooh, okay, okay.
Now, I'm a little pissed that maybe this isn't a winner on other things on my list because I fucking love this movie. Like, if we did a best production design as well, I would have maybe given this best production design because the cave in that, well, it's hard to believe that's a soundstage to me. It is such a well put together setup when they're crawling around through these caves. If anybody doesn't know The Descent is about a group of women, and I think that's kind of cool. It's like a girls' weekend retreat, and they go like spelunking in the middle of nowhere, and they go into these caves in the earth. And if you're claustrophobic, you know, it's already fucking scary, which I am. Like, there's that one scene where a girl almost gets stuck, and I have a panic attack with her. And then you add in these creatures, and that's where the costume design to me kind of comes into play, because it's these, you know, people in these, you know, they're wearing these well crafted suits that look like you don't see a fucking zipper in the back. Like, this is such a well get up. These creatures are fucking terrifying. There's no like origin story to them, really. They're just these fucking cave dwelling entities that like kind of just are engraved in my mind. And I just, the movie's just fucking terrifying. It also is a great allegory for someone dealing with loss and guilt, but that's not what I'm here to talk about. I just, how realistic and gooey these creatures are. It's just, they're just so fucking scary, and there's great jump scares that get you into it. And they don't even show up. It's like a 95-minute movie. They don't even show up till about close to an hour in, and the movie's already scary leading up to it. So there's my pick for best costume design, 2005's The Descent. So if you're feeling a little better, you give me yours.
Well, I mean, I am not.
I'm gonna have a little more
But I
to
got
try
this
and
like
match you.
I got this soaker because I'm definitely burning up over here. But I went with something a little bit different. I went with something more just overall costume design that I really um Lala Hoyt. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. If it's Lala Hoyta or
I don't know.
not quite sure. But this is for Pan's Labyrinth.
I knew this would pop up at some point.
There were several categories that we were going over that I wanted to include this movie. But one of the reasons that I even go back and watch that movie is because of the costume design and how the costume design reflects the backdrop and everything else that's going on in that film. Everything really fuses together. It's kind of like when you're watching some like the Korean horror shows where they're very into the color palette of every single scene that you're seeing. You know, they have their like deep reds and maroons and everything, and then like the dark colors and then like all the different contrasting and everything. So I mean, there are a lot of movies that I go back and watch just because they look good, and the fact that it's a movie that a looks great, has a whole bunch of fantastical creatures in it. Uh, goodness gracious, this thing. Oh, yeah. Overall, it's just a really great film, and that's all I have to say about that until this thing is like dry.
All right. No, it's I again, that's a film that I probably could have placed somewhere, and I don't know why I didn't. It actually was almost going to be in my next category, but I didn't know if it should be visual effects or costume design, so it got booted out. I don't know why. I feel bad. It's a little too late to change it because I think my next one is a forgettable big movie.
Ooh.
So this again, all right. So that's our best picks for best costume design. Mine was The Descent. Yours is Pan's Labyrinth. We're moving on now to best visual effects of the early 2000s. So my next one, I'm going to kick it off like this. When you think of Jennifer Lopez, you don't really think of horror movies or psychological thrillers.
Ooh, I think I know what this is.
You do think of Anaconda, but I'm not talking about Anaconda. That's the 90s. That's the late 90s. I'm not talking about her and Ice Cube fighting off a giant anaconda. I am talking about from the year 2000, a mind-bending, holy shit movie that is The Cell.
Yes.
I got some of the information of it right here on my laptop in front of me, and I can't believe this has a 45% on Rotten Tomatoes, 6.4 on it out of 10 on IMDb, whatever. But I remember my mom talking about this movie, like when I was like a teen, like when it came out, and I was just like, that looks fucking trippy. It didn't look I mean, I'm 12 years old at the time, I think 12 or 13. Yeah, 12 years old. August 17th, 2000. I believe the director, I don't want to say any names wrong, Tarsem Singh. You can very much tell this is not an American director doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Plus costume designs as well. There's a lot of like just different blends of just like imagination from, I feel, different cultures that go into the overall visual aesthetic of this movie. It's fucking beautiful, and it's also haunted. It is a mind trip into the dark, dangerous minds of a serial killer. And J-Lo is I can't remember if she's like a detective or just like some sort of FBI agent that's like, she basically goes inside the mind of this killer, and you just see the absolute craziest visual effects, early 2000s green screen, blue screen stuff that honestly like is so ahead of its time. I watched this movie earlier. Well, it's we're still in the beginning parts of the new year, so I want to say early 2022, and just forgetting about how fucking good this was. And I feel just like audiences didn't get it. It was too mind bending. It was too trippy, but like it's such a cool, just like descent into somebody's psychology, and it's captured so well. There's just J-Lo's get up. I never give like compliments to J-Lo movies, but Jennifer Lopez, but like here we fucking are. I actually think she's really good in it. It's a great cast as well. I mean, you got the great Vincent D'Onofrio, who plays the serial killer whose mind she goes into. Vince Vaughn is in there as well. But just beautiful, trippy movie. She's an FBI agent. I just looked that up. Just beautiful, trippy aesthetic that you see from kind of movies like the late 1970s that try to do stuff like this. Just very out there. Yeah, I was just blown away by how good this movie held up over 20 years later. Now, I was also going to throw in just to throw in some like nominees. We're going to do that probably periodically, like some runners up. Another one, I think this was nominated for the actual Oscars that year. 2000's Hollow Man, starring Kevin Bacon as basically a guy it's basically the Invisible Man. but like the overall like special effects in that one were so fucking cool. But something about The Cell to me is like, I love horror movies that go completely crazy with their effects, and they're almost kind of, they scare you still, but I can't look away. And The Cell does that perfectly. There's my pick.
All right, it's a pretty solid pick.
Yeah, I totally forgot about it, and I was like, I gotta throw The Cell in there.
Yeah, I mean, I've gone back and rewatched it, and I mean, it is a kind of, altogether, it's a pretty terrible movie. But no. It's a good movie, but it's like one of those like good terrible movies.
Yeah.
For like the points that you mentioned. I think one of the scenes that really sticks out to me is the horse scene.
Yeah.
She walks into the room and it's just like it's all the splayed out parts of the horse. I thought it was pretty cool. A lot of really neat imagery in that film.
Yeah. All right, you go ahead.
All right, see if I can make it through this.
Right.
So for VFX here, I have two movies. I really couldn't decide here. So I would say if I was going to go between the two, I would pick Cloverfield, but The Mist is a close second.
Yeah, that's
yeah. So Cloverfield, for those who haven't seen it, it's really cool, awesome monster flick. I think there's what three movies in total. There's Cloverfield Lane, and then there's Cloverfield Paradox. Both of those don't really compare to Cloverfield at all. Honestly, I remember when that movie came out and people wanted a second one because there was this whole thing of like the Cloverfield monster in that film is looking for her baby, and like there's actually two monsters, I guess was the general plot. Which is something that I didn't even pick up at the beginning, but it's like they're looking for each other. And people wanted another film that included both of them, or just went on with the Cloverfield monster, and they never did that. But I like the fact that when they were filming it, they didn't even tell the actors or the cast or anything like what the monster looked like. They were just like, "We're gonna film this. This is the direction we want you to take. Go ahead and just follow the scenes, and then we'll fill in the rest later." So it wasn't even until after they finished the Cloverfield film that the acting cast got to sit down and watch the movie and their reactions to this thing that didn't exist.
Wow.
And
I
then
didn't know that.
Oh, you didn't know that? Yeah.
No, I mean, I obviously knew like they couldn't see like the creature there, but like I didn't know like they didn't have any idea of what to really react off of. Like they didn't see like concept drawings or anything.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting the way that they put that together. I think like as they went along filming it, they showed them at some point, but I'm pretty sure it was for the whole movie that they just didn't say anything about like, the monster or anything like that. But The Mist, I wanted to put on there because it is 100% like if they made a Silent Hill, and Stephen King was to write it, it would be The Mist. And like the spider creatures that are in that movie, man, those things are freaky. I don't know if you remember those.
Yeah, that was
they're almost like the Zelda ones with like the freaking skull for face or whatever. Yeah, so those two are my picks for VFX. I guess they can fight over it.
No, those are great picks. I mean, I remember going to Cloverfield. I mean, I saw the trailer, but I remember going to Cloverfield with such low expectations and being blown away.
Yeah.
And The Mist is so fucking good, and obviously that ending being such a gut punch. Yeah, those are good picks. I don't blame you for having a tie there. And they have ties all the time at award shows. So, excuse me while my trash truck goes by outside. But So next up, so our best visual effects, mine was The Cell. Yours was a tie between The Mist and Cloverfield. So next up, I wanted to go with best sound design because I think sound or lack of sound, vice versa, because even lack of sound, it still goes into the science of sound design. Um, for best sound design is what I'm getting at here, because I think those are prominent things in horror. Sometimes we use sound as a crutch. Sometimes sound jump scares scare the shit out of us, and we judge it if it's was a cheap scare or not. So my pick here is a film that I think was really kind of capitalizing on that kind of 2, 3, 4 year stretch from like the late '90s after The Sixth Sense into the early 2000s. Plus, there's also a plot twist at the end that is very reminiscent of The Sixth Sense. I know there's been criticisms about it, but I still think it's effective, oddly enough, because the first time I saw it, I didn't see it coming. Um, that is 2001's Nicole Kidman starring The Others.
Okay.
This movie has a lot of different kind of everything I just said, like has a lot of your jump scares that do rely on sound, and the sound kind of amplifies the stuff that gets you scared, and the lack of the silence, the absolute fucking silence and room tone in some of these jump scares or scares and whatnot, and just the overall mood that the sound design enhances, I feel does the film a solid. I think the film overall, like I said, just really good movie, really good ghost story, really good kind of period piece as well. Looking back, yeah, I can see that plot twist coming, but I won't say what the plot twist was if you haven't seen it. But there's just I don't really know how to elaborate a lot on sound design. I'm not a sound guy, but no, it just there's so many great post-production things in that movie that help give it better scares and a better atmosphere to it. It's a very atmospheric film, and I feel films that rely on their atmosphere do rely heavily on sound design. And yeah, that's mine.
Okay.
Breeze through that one. Shit.
So for my sound design, I feel like this was sort of kind of an easy pick for me. I don't know. This is one of those movies where a lot of people have seen it, and I feel that for the amount of people that have seen it, there's probably equal or more people that have not seen it. Just like this stuff is like brewing in my esophagus. So this is 2001's. Oh my goodness. 2001's Happiness of the Katakuris.
Okay, I haven't seen it. I'm one of the people that hasn't seen it.
So this movie is absolutely hilarious. It's based off of another Japanese film, which I believe is based off of. I've seen some people say it's based off of manga. I don't know. I've never looked it up. But it's a trip. It's a Japanese film that has random cuts to claymation for some reason. I don't even know what the reason is, but it's incredibly freaky the way that it's put together. And it's also a musical. And so basically what's going on in this film is that this family is really trying to get this Airbnb to work. But every single time their guests arrive, they die. Somehow they all die. So it's like this family trying to like continuously hide bodies and like cover up the fact that their place is like haunted or whatever, and get this thing going. So it's a nice horror comedy. But when they're even when they're doing their music numbers and when they're not doing their music numbers, one of the big things that I notice is the sound and like how they put everything together and how the shots really come to life because of the different kind of sound engineering and design that they have in the background to make things subtle but still fit into like all the different craziness. So anybody who hasn't seen that film, I believe it is on Tubi. You can go ahead and check that film out. And then if anybody is curious, I can always look up the movie that it is kind of a derivative of. and
Okay.
post that one at some point. I haven't seen that one, but yeah, the happiness of the Katakuris, 2001.
And mine for best sound design was The Others 2001 as well. All right, I'll look into that. I don't. That's a new one for me. Interesting. Yeah, it's on Tubi. Cool. I'm looking it up right now. Musical horror, sweet fucking deal. So all right, let's. We're jumping out of the technical side of things. We're jumping into more of the creative side here. Well, kind of, sort of. First up, I want to go with. Let's talk some writing here.
Yeah.
Let's kick things off with best adapted screenplay, and I will elaborate. Adapted screenplay is obviously a screenplay that was adapted from either short story, novella, novel, whatever. You know every especially you're a writer, so am I. But so I wanted to go with one that I've already talked about on this show. Oh shit, where'd he go? Where the fuck?
I'm here. Grabbing something. Just grabbing something.
So I want to go, but I don't think you were here. It was the show where I had to do it solo.
Yeah.
I think I talked about this on that episode because I know I watched it recently. Um, Sorry, I'm on my phone. I just got a text. This is 2002's Don Coscarelli directed Bubba Hotep.
Okay.
This overall, and I'll make this one kind of quick too because I've already talked about it on this show, but I'll elaborate as best as I can. This was directed by Don Coscarelli, famously known for the Phantasm franchise. John dies at the end. Beastmaster. But this obviously stars the great Bruce Campbell from the Evil Dead franchise, playing Elvis Presley. But Elvis is now alive. This came out in 2002, but he's alive in 2002 at some nursing home, I believe in like Texas somewhere. And he befriends a fellow old man played by Ossie Davis, who believes he's John F. Kennedy. And if you don't know who Ossie Davis is, he's a very well-known African-American actor. So he's an African-American guy, black guy who thinks he's John F. Kennedy. So what it's about, it's what the overall plot is. It's about a mummy that is roaming around this nursing home and eating the souls of old people, or the elderly, I should say, that live there. And Bruce Campbell, or I should say Elvis, and John F. Kennedy decide to kind of like take it upon themselves to put a stop to this. Sounds very campy. I know. Sounds super fucking campy. This is something that if you've never seen it before, you got to give it like 2 or 3 watches. And I know I hate being pitched on that, but it's what happened to me. Like all my friends, not like all my friends, but a few niche friends out there talked about it a lot. And then I finally got around to watching it, and I was like, I don't fucking get this at all. Really what it is about, though, it is a commentary on what we do to our elderly. We just throw them in nursing homes till they die. And there is a real heartful, soulful message of that in the movie that kind of starts to resonate after a few watches. Knowing that now, you might see it and it'll hit you right in the face. But where I should probably bring in the fact that it's an adapted screenplay is this was written, I don't know the exact name of the book, but I think the name of the book actually was, let me go back on that, but I think it was actually just a book called, it is based on a book called Bubba Hotep, but I guess was a early title for it that was called The King is Dead. Hence why, there's Elvis in it. It was published back in the 1994, written by Joe R. Lansdale is the original author of it. So this is basically adapted, I believe, by the screenwriter. I'm literally looking up notes right here on the show. Adam Gira, I can't pronounce the last name, but and it's also co-written by the director Don Coscarelli, who has a really good, you can tell, connection to the movie. He got the material really well. It's horror, but it's also huge in its camp. But you can really feel the heartfelt message of it really well. So I love that fucking movie. It's just something I go back to so much, and I love talking about it. I could go on for an hour analyzing this movie, a movie about fucking Elvis in a nursing home, but it works so well. It's a little low budget movie made for like $1 million. I mean, that's a lot of money, but like
Yeah.
a movie being made for $1 million, like you can feel the budget on it at times. But streaming now on Tubi and Amazon Prime if you want to hunt it down. And there's a lot of great DVD. I think there was a new Blu-ray that came out a couple years ago too about it. Of it.
Yeah, Tubi is really killing it. Really, I mean, out of all the screen services that I have, it's definitely one of the better ones, and it's freaking free.
Yeah.
So can't really go wrong there. So mine, this is what I had stepped away to go get. Yeah, you can't go wrong. Can't go wrong with Let the Right One In. I mean, you can, because there's what was it? There was Let Me In.
Yeah.
I guess there was. I don't know if it was on Showtime or what it was, but they had a new TV series that came out for Let the Right One In, and
I know it. Yeah.
it's been like pulled and canceled. So I guess maybe it's not that great. But if we want to talk about a movie adapted from a novel, it is. I don't want to say it's a hard watch. It's a different kind of watch. Like if you're just going in blind and you don't know anything about it, I think one of the weirdest things for me, and this is going to be kind of spoilery because we've at least seen these films, but the relationship between the boy and the girl, and like I feel like this is the boy's like first love kind of thing. But when you think about it, this girl who's a vampire, she just looks young. We have no
Yeah.
idea how old she actually is. So you get this very strange dynamic where it's like you can tell she likes the boy, but in a different way than he does, and they like form this friendship that is very interesting because when you look at how she acts around others, she's like super violent. I mean, she's a vampire. Like she has to do her thing, and he's kind of like the opposite. He's like this meek kid who gets picked on all the time, and just the dynamic of the two characters and how they fit so well together and go through this journey of getting to know each other and this ordeal of friendship and bullies and protecting each other and all this kind of stuff. It's quite a deep movie to watch in a lot of ways, and then it's also a movie you can just sit down and shut your brain off if you wanted to just watch like a regular film. But I think it would be pretty hard to do that the whole way through and not come to any different kinds of conclusions or anything. But yeah, probably one of the best, if not the best, adapted screenplay 2000s.
Yeah. Let me just say we might be talking about that one again soon.
Okay.
Yeah, it's on my list. I won't say what it is, but we'll be talking about it very shortly. Yeah, I'll just say what I need to say when we get around to when it's on my list. But yeah, that's a great fucking thing. That went over my head. Maybe that's another one where I was like, shit, maybe I should have fucking considered that one, but I didn't want to say something twice on my list. So cool. So mine was Bubba Hotep, 2002, and yours was Let the Right One In. What years? Let the Right One In. 2008. Yeah. All right. Now from after adapted screenplay, we're gonna go with best original screenplay, original idea, original in concept, and mine is gonna be none other than 2009's. And this one has gotten quite the feminist renaissance lately. This is Jennifer's Body.
Oh, okay. I almost picked that, which is hilarious.
This is this isn't the only time I'm gonna talk about this one either. This is just this was a movie that I think I saw opening night, and I remember leaving the theater loving it and going, nobody's gonna like this movie, but I bet you in 10 years they're gonna love it. And sure as shit,
Yeah.
there's just this like, I think a lot of like women our age who like saw it and it spoke to them. Like, but like, I don't know, like nobody, the movie I think bombed when it came out. It didn't bomb, but it just didn't.
It didn't do well.
It didn't do the numbers maybe it wanted to do, but like, you know, I knew while I was sitting there watching this going, there's a voice here with the writing per se, and of course the directing. You know, this is directed by Karen Kusama, who has gone on to do a lot of great work these past 5-6 years. Um, Diablo Cody, the screenwriter behind this, and this is just there's such a voice in this movie, from Megan Fox's character to Amanda Seyfried's character, just about a teenage girl who's, you know, she's a little bit Megan Fox's character is a little bit maybe on the promiscuous side kind of thing, and you know, a vibe. I guess I don't know. I don't want to put labels on women in high school. I have a daughter, but like,
Well, I mean, she's very promiscuous. I mean, she's a succubus.
Yeah, yeah. They're kind of hyping her up to be that, and she ends up kind of getting mixed up in an unsatisfactory situation. She basically gets like possessed by a fucking like creature and shit. And it's just so fucking good. And like, I love the fact that this feels like a teenage horror movie tied with something like Clueless from the 90s. The dialogue is, I hate high school movies that like, you know, you sit there and you go like, that's not how fucking people talk in high school. like I know like there's such like anybody thinks they can write teenagers, and most people can't. Like there's so many movies out there that even if the movie is somewhat good, like still like the teenage characters in it sometimes don't hit, or there's just like deliveries on dialogue that I'm like, you know, I know everybody's different, but like, you know, I'm pretty sure a 14-year-old doesn't talk like that. And I remember just kind of leaving Jennifer's body going like, you know, yeah, that's there's something about that rang true to me, and I get it. Like I might not be its target audience, but I fucking love it so much. Again, I knew it was going to get some sort of renaissance down the road, even if it didn't do well on its initial release. And there are so many women on the internet championing this movie now. So it's fucking cool. So my pick is Jennifer's Body. Not the first time, not the only time I'm going to talk about that movie either. So
yeah, there were a couple categories on here where I almost had the same movies on twice. Actually, one of them almost 3 times, but I wanted to switch things up some. So for original screenplay, and I believe this is original screenplay, you could correct me if I'm wrong, but I went with 2007's action horror film at 1 hour and 46 minutes. This one is directed by Robert Rodriguez, screenplay as well. I'm going with Planet Terror.
Ooh, yeah, I believe that's an original. Yeah, I think you're good.
So it was one of the only times where I have gone to the theaters in, you know, aside from going to the drive-in as a very young child, you get 2 full-length movies back to back. So you got Death Proof, and then you got, I think it was Planet Terror first, and then Death Proof. And the only reason I remember that is because I was glad that they put it in that order, because it was the other way I wouldn't have lasted long enough to see Planet Terror. So yeah, I guess we were talking about that another time if you hold Death Proof in high regard.
I do, but I agree with you, because Death Proof grew on me. I didn't like it at first, but I go back and I actually enjoy it now. But there's no way you kick off a double feature with Death Proof, because that movie kind of drags for a while, and you could lose the audience there. So yeah, it's perfect to have Planet Terror go first in that situation. Continue.
Yeah, so Planet Terror is one of those films where there were a lot of other Japanese films that were coming out around that time that I didn't get to see, and I wish I had seen them around the time that I saw this. Um, with like Meatball Machine and all those other like crazy movies that I've talked about in the past. It's just over the top gore and violence. The fact that that's hilarious, but it's also the the effects are done well. The cinematography in it, just the way they're setting up the scenes and how ridiculous some of them are. She's got like the machine gun leg was like one of the really big factors here. Um, like she's just blasting all this stuff away, and like it's got like a 30 round 30 round magazine, and there's like 500 bullets just coming out of it. It's just like, what is going on?
Yeah.
But overall, as far as an original screenplay goes, that is one of the films that I can go back and watch at any time and have some fun with. There were a few other films I would put on here, but some of them are adaptations and not original screenplays. So I left those out and went with Planet Terror.
Nice, dude. All right. Planet Terror and Jennifer's Body. All right. For best original screenplay. Fuck yeah. So now we return. Well, I don't want to say anything too soon. Next up, we are going to go with best cinematography. What is a beautiful? What constitutes a beautiful looking horror film? Who's a hell of a shooter behind making a good looking horror film between 2000 and 2010. Like I said, we're talking about it again. I am going back to Hoyt van Hoytema's, I think that's how you say his name. He's a Swedish cinematographer behind the cinematography of Let the Right One In. I think this is, sometimes, I think since really this era, I shouldn't say this era because you see it a lot in every era, primarily like the 60s and 70s, a lot of simplicity in the shots. But sometimes people try to do it and it's like too simple and boring. In this one, there's just so much you can look at in his cinematography. I mean, obviously there's that famous pool scene, which I think is such a cool shot with the the severed arm coming down in front of the boy. I think that's such a cool fucking shot. There's so much at the apartment complex, and the apartment complex is like so dull and colorless and boring, but it's so fun he makes it so fun to look at. Just these wide shots, and he likes to live in the wide shot. And of course, there's those great shots of the girl kind of sitting on like that weird like structure in the middle of the night, in like the
old school playground.
Yeah, stuff like
playground
that.
Things, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of shots from the wide where there's like that open walkway in the apartment complex, and there's that like overpass shot. He's very symmetrical at times. I mean, this is also a guy who's gone on to shoot films like I believe he shot the Bond film Spectre. He's worked with Christopher Nolan 3 times now with Interstellar, Dunkirk, and Tenet. I think he shot Nope, actually.
Okay.
And
I'll have to go back and finish that film.
Yeah, just because of that. But like he's working a lot of. He's kind of been in and out of the genre. I mean, obviously he did Nope, but he's done a lot of other things as well. But it's just so beautiful, and like the color palette of the movie. You have a lot of grays, whites, blues in it, but those aren't like my favorite colors on the color palette. But it amplifies the tone of the movie so well. I just, I'm sure there's plenty of other movies I could put for best cinematography, but maybe it's because it's fresh in my mind. I gave it a rewatch a few months ago. It is like you said, it's just one of those movies you can just, you see, you scroll past it, you're just kind of like, I'm in the mood for that. And yeah, so I think that's why it made the list. I'm sure there's things that rival it, but I just have a lot of fun just staring at the shots in this movie. So Let the Right One In with its second appearance on the list.
Nice. Yeah, I mean it's I think one of the big things about those kinds of films, and this is kind of the same thing with why I went for the pick that I have here, uh, is being able to set up shots consistently where the shots help the scene along and help the movie along as far as the film goes is kind of like an underrated thing. Like there are a lot of films that I've seen where it's like, you get the camera angles and the color palettes and everything else, and they're nice, but it's like the you don't think about the angles as much. Like it's not immersing you the same way that some other films will. And so while some may argue with me here, when I went to the movies and I saw this for the first time, I was taken aback more by some of the shots that they have in the main room and how they continuously show you new things about the room that you didn't notice beforehand. So I am talking about none other than David A. Armstrong's work in the 2004 film Saw.
All right.
So there are
in my nominations.
Yes, it's that movie could have been shot so flat and just like two or three camera angles, and the suspense and the tone would have totally been lost. But it's like we get two different kinds of camera angles here. We get camera angles from the killer's point of view, and we don't know it until the end of the film, right? But there are a lot of scenes where it's like it's right behind, the head of this guy who's supposed to be dead, or like an offshoot from his body, like some kind of strange angle where it's like, okay, you go back and you watch that, and you're like, this is a camera angle of them being watched. And they have no idea that this guy is the main reason why they're there and he's watching him. And then you get like the other angles where it's like they notice something and then you notice it, and they do. David did a really good job of making sure that things were hidden until they needed to be shown, and then the things that were shown in the beginning, it's kind of like Tchaikovsky's gun theory. You see it in the first act, you got to show it in the third. And he does a lot of that, and a lot of it is very, very much, oh, like there's a like the sink, we started the sink and everything. There's the sink, and you're like, oh, okay, well, what are they going to do with that? And then it's just like, oh, well, that's where he has to to get out. So I can't speak on the rest of the franchise, but at least the first film, especially for that ending, it really just it lands really well. And I think a lot of it has to do with the scripting too, but I mean, that movie couldn't have been done without the kind of cinematography that it has.
Yeah. It's I go back to the first one so damn much. I love it because I love horror movies. Like once the adrenaline wears off of the scare and everything, I love a horror movie I can study. And I feel like um yeah, again, we'll talk about Saw in a little bit. But I feel that like I don't know, like there's so many horror films kind of in this era that are great, but like I feel like, or maybe they just haven't got the merit yet to just like really kind of dive into them and study them and find little pinpoints that mean that connect with audiences so well. But I think Saw is really the standout film of this era that there's obviously been a franchise built off of it. Good for James Wan and Lee Winnell because for making bank off of it. But it all goes back to the first one. It goes back to the first one, and it's just so. I don't know. It was once it ended, and everybody by now knows that fucking ending. Like once it ended, you want to stop it, rewind it, or whatever, hit rewind, or go back to the beginning and watch the damn thing again and see what you missed. Yep. And I think that's a fucking genius move. So good fucking pick. Good pick. I it was a nominee for definitely for me. All All right, let's jump into some performances here.
Yeah. I'm gonna actually crack into the second beer here too, the double berry. I do have some more of the other one, but I'm trying to space it out because I only have one more. And like I said, I mean, you just drink them like water.
All right. So let's start with best supporting actor.
Okay.
Because I was gonna go. I was circling through so many actors. One of them was Brendan Gleeson from 28 Days Later, who might get an Oscar nomination this year for a non-horror movie because he's a great actor. This guy played Donald Trump in the Showtime series about him supposedly colluding with Russia. But that's not who I went with. But he's a great actor. This is actually kind of gonna be this is. I mean, maybe I should have just gone with him, but this is gonna be a sleeper hit. This is a sleeper performance. No, like nobody's talking about it to this day, and I still love it for some goddamn reason. This is Tony Goldwyn from the 2009 remake of Last House on the Left. And if you don't know who Tony Goldwyn is, he's a character actor. He's a TV actor. He was on one of those Shonda Rhimes ABC shows, Scandal. He's also in the, the movie, the iconic romantic yet kind of horror movie Ghost from the 1990s with Patrick Swayze, Whoopi Goldberg.
The famous pottery scene.
Yeah, it's that movie. Tony Goldwyn plays the bad guy in it, and I think he's fucking astonishing. And that, like, he's a great character actor. If you don't know who I'm talking about, look him up. You'll probably recognize him from something immediately. But regardless, he's in the reboot or the remake to Last House on the Left. And this is the end of the 2000s. This is the end of the decade. This is when you had your Friday the 13th remake. This is when you had your Nightmare on Elm Street remake. And in the middle of all that, Last House on the Left gets a remake that I feel came and went, and I really fucking loved, because the old movie, the Wes Craven film, is very much hard to watch, very kind of over the top exploitative gore, yet still with a good social, not a good, but like a social message to it. In this movie, Tony Goldwyn plays, I forget the character's name, but he plays the dad. So if you don't know the plot of the movie, the original and remake, it is about two girls who like venture out into the woods, go swimming in a lake, and just so happen there are some ex-cons that have escaped that are roaming the woods that find them, and there is, they are raped, and one is killed and the other one gets away. What happens in this one is the girl who gets away, I believe she's shot, but she's able to survive and swim off across the lake because she is we find out she's a swimmer. She's a high school athlete on the swim team, and she's very smart girl, very on top of her shit. And her friend that unfortunately gets killed did not really have it all together. So basically what happens is the escaped convicts, after they think they've killed both of them, they take refuge at a house. It is the house of the girl's parents, the one who got away. And she then returns to the house and sees that these now evil fucking people are there. One of them is actually played by Aaron Paul in the middle of his Breaking Bad run as Jesse Pinkman. And he's fucking really evil in it too. But so Tony Goldwyn plays the dad, and he portrays this role so incredible as a father, that you now have your daughter who was sexually assaulted and almost killed back with you, safe. But is she safe? Because you didn't know, but now you have her assailants in the house too. And it turns into this thing of, what would you do? Like, would you call the cops, or would you take matters into your own hand and completely fuck these guys up? And the thin line he has to walk, where is he gonna just cave and just try to kind of be secretive about it till he can get some sort of law enforcement there or something, or is he gonna fucking torture these guys, is so fucking perfectly acted. Anybody can kind of probably relate to it, parent or not. mean, I saw this when it was in theaters. It was a long time before I became a parent. But like, yeah, it's one of these things like, you know, the person who harmed your child, you now have a shot to maybe harm them. Would you do it? And like, it's kind of like a crazy morality tale, and he does a great job at it. So there's my pick.
Yeah, I haven't seen the remake. I've only seen the original, so I'll have to go back and check it out.
It's not. I think it's not as like
a reimagining.
Yeah, they play it for it's made for like a wider audience than obviously the original was. So it's not there's not too much shock value to it, but it does get pretty wild in the end with what they do to the guys. All right, go ahead, you're
up. So this is weird because it's kind of, you could say it's just a regular acting role, or you could say it's a supporting act. It's kind of like right in the middle. But I want the beer's starting to kick in here. And both of these are pretty high content here. And I had edibles yesterday. They're still kicking in. So I am going with Nick Frost. Shaun of the Dead, 2004.
Yes, dude, that's a good wingman right there.
So again, this is one of those movies where when I was younger, like I just started getting into horror comedies maybe within the last year or so. It definitely wasn't something growing up that I was like, oh man, I love these. I mean, like I did, but like not to the extent that I do now. So I feel like Shaun of the Dead was a great segue for a lot of people like me, who, I'm not like super huge into slashers. I mean, there's a few that I like, but I know that's like the brunt of what a lot of people like in horror. But I am more creatures and zombies and all sorts of other stuff. So I hadn't really seen a film like that before, where it was just lots of comedy and then taking some of like this, like really just some of the scenes right out of other famous zombie films, like the window scene, if you know what I'm talking about, where and either way, it doesn't matter if it's that movie or I believe it was that Day of the Dead, right, where that scene is from.
Maybe
Day of the Dead or Dawn of the Dead.
I think you're right. Yeah.
And he gets pulled through the window and they just rip him apart. I mean, it doesn't matter which movie you watch. In both of them, that scene is just super brutal.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's one of the most hilarious films. And then having Nick as a supporting role there, and I mean, Mr. Penn is already pretty funny as it is, but having him there and like the presence that both of them have and how they play off of each other, that movie just comes out as super hilarious. And I don't think it would have been the same if there wasn't that second character to play all the comedic parts off of. So
yeah.
As far as supporting actors go, yeah, Nick Frost, Shaun of the Dead, 2004 would be my pick.
Sweet fucking deal. All right. My best supporting actress pick. Let's go with the ladies now. Supporting actress is for me. I think the reason why I picked her is because this is very. She's an Oscar winner, first supporting actress in real life, like 15, 16 years after this film even came out. This is Naomi Harris from 28 Days Later, playing Selena, the pretty much the main female. Well, she's supporting, but it's pretty much the only female lead, female character in the movie, I think. Yeah. So this pretty much why I picked it is she's fucking badass, and obviously I feel like there's been a few big zombie films where, I mean, there's probably like a 15-20 year gap between fucking zombie movies really being good, like from like maybe Day of the Dead till this, or I don't know really. I'm sure there are like other zombie films, but the subgenre was kind of out of it for a while. But like it hadn't really. There's her and maybe two other characters that are kind of like these badass female leads in the zombie apocalypse. And I feel like her character is such a precursor to what we've seen with like you know, what's her name, Rose McGowan in Planet Terror. That's who it was, right? In Planet Terror. You know, just kind of these chicks kicking zombie ass kind of thing. But 28 Days Later is also like a really good drama, and there's a lot of like Brendan Gleeson, like I just said, he's in it. He has a great role in it. Cillian Murphy as well in the lead. There's a lot of great fucking drama in this movie, and Naomi Harris is such a great dramatic actress. She's gone on to do, you know, she won the Oscar for Moonlight, Best Supporting back in 2016. She's been in a lot of few other things that, you know, movies are kind of hit or miss, but she's actually pretty good in it. But she really kind of was the first, like, I remember this being one of the first movies I saw about zombies and post-apocalyptic. I shouldn't say Walking Dead, I should say Running Dead, which was always a cool twist to me. Let's make zombies run.
Yeah.
Like fuck that, man. Like I might last a little while in a Walking Dead universe, but 28 Days Later universe, nope. I'm done, man. But I just feel like her character was kind of the first, like, you know, badass performance out of an actress in a kind of genre like that, or subgenre like that. So yeah, I mean, I didn't rewatch the movie for this, but I know for a fact I just really enjoyed watching her in the film. So cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have to go back and watch those movies because I believe I well I don't want to put some false information out there. I know they want to make a third installment.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it got greenlit at the end of last year or if it was like right at the cusp of being greenlit, but I'm pretty sure it's happening. So
Cool.
There's that to be excited about. But for me, supporting actress here, this is one of those films where people always get confused because I'm like, oh yeah, I'm not really into slasher films or whatever, but I do watch them. And so this one is from House of Thousand Corpses, 2003, played by none other than Sherry Moon Zombie.
Ooh.
If I so if they did a Batman film, right? Like say if they did like one of Frank's works,
Yeah.
something just like super brutal. I feel like Sherry Moon's performance in this film, House of Thousand Corpses, is how I envision an unhinged Harley Quinn.
I can see it. Yeah.
Yeah, she is the, and like everyone else, all the assailants in that film are creepy. She is even more creepy because she has a way of making her character seem innocent, but also there's that vile, scary, just psychopath undertone to her character, and everything she does, it's like she just, I mean, none of them care. They all know that they're terrible people, but
Yeah.
it's like having her there with like all these other guys who are, and they're all just on the same brutal page. And then, you know, she uses her like feminine touch, you know, to her advantage, and it just really gets under your skin. Like these are people that you would never want to meet. And the way that she brings her character across, I feel like she ties it together. Like if her character wasn't there, it wouldn't be as daunting, I guess,
Yeah.
as it would be. So plus, I mean, I think if not all of the films that Rob Zombie has put out, I think he has put his wife in each one of them.
I believe you're right. Yeah. And you know,
maybe
there's
not
a lot of like
Halloween 2, but I know she was in the first one.
she's in Halloween too, and it's a smaller role because it's like Michael Myers' mom as like a ghost who he only sees kind of thing. And I mean, he gets a lot of flack for that, putting his wife in it. it doesn't really bother me that much.
Yeah.
Uh, Really
I mean,
not
if
so
you're
much at
making
all.
films and you love making films and you also love your wife, like why
Yeah,
not?
if it fucking works, it works. I don't got a problem with it at all.
Yeah.
All right, cool. That's Naomi Harris and Sherry Moon Zombie for supporting actress. Let's go on to the lead. Four more categories here. Let's bang
Yes.
it out here. All right, best actor. I'm gonna go back to the beginning of the decade here
Okay.
with a iconic performance that people like to now put in memes all over the internet, and people like to glorify. Which, if you're glorifying this role, I don't think you fucking understood it.
Oh, okay, okay. Let's see what
It's
we got
like
here.
it's like Travis, it's like Robert De Niro as Travis Bickle in Taxi Driver. If you're glorifying that role, you didn't fucking understand that movie. um this is none other than the, once again, he became an Oscar winner as well. This is Christian Bale in
Yeah,
American Psycho.
yeah.
um Fucking A, man. Like like he'd obviously been in a few movies prior. Like, it's crazy to think like 2 years earlier he was playing the bad guy in Shaft with Samuel L. Jackson. And like, I remember watching something like that and having him play opposite Samuel L. Jackson as like a fucking racist guy. And sometimes you watch like white actors play a racist and you're just like, is he just trying to get away with saying the N-word or something? Like, is this just him being like, yes, I get to play a racist guy? And then, but like watching him in that role, he was so fucking believable. Because it wasn't just like he was running around saying racist stuff. He was just like this rich, snobby asshole who got away with whatever he wanted to. And I was like, he's a fucking great actor. Fast forward like a year or two later, he's in this movie, which I didn't get to see till later in life because I think my mom told me, even at 12 years old, they're like, or 11 or 12, she's like, don't watch American Psycho. Don't watch that. Um, there's just so many, like, you could argue American Psycho really isn't a horror film, but I feel like a lot of the horror audience has really embraced it. I know we do that on this show. We try to, we pull over stuff that horror audiences can still dig. And, he plays an absolute fucking psychopathic whack job. Um, who just completely goes off the deep end and you don't know if what he's doing is actually happening or not. The most iconic scene in the whole film, and I know it might rub audiences the wrong way at times, but people still find it entertaining, is the threesome he has in the movie. And then he goes off and like kills these chicks. and, and the fucking chainsaw scene where he's running around naked in like fucking high top sneakers and he dangles the chainsaw off
Yep.
the stairwell to time it so it can hit the girl. It's just like, oh my fucking God. And I finally got around to reading the novel it's based off of. So maybe this should have maybe also been in the adapted screenplay category as well. Bret Easton Ellis wrote, this is a great book just about the 80s yuppie era in New York, working on Wall Street. This I think this was directed by a woman, by the way. And like, I'm not saying, I'm just saying that in the sense of just like, you can kind of sense the vibe of a female director at times with movies. You can sense a woman's touch on a film. And in this one, like, I fucking couldn't at all. Like, it was so incredible to kind of see that blurred line of, wow, I mean, call me just like blind to what a female director can and can't do, but at the time, but I was just kind of like, wow, I could not believe this was directed by a woman, because there's stuff in it that feels so masculine and angry at times. But then again, women view us a certain way, and I think sometimes they're right about it. And there's so many, like the fucking scene where he's bitching about his goddamn business cards in the board meeting. Like, it's so fucking on point. And this also has a great supporting cast with Willem Dafoe, Reese Witherspoon's in there, Jared Leto in the crazy scene with he gets whacked up by Christian Bale with an axe while he's listening to Huey Lewis in the news. it's just an iconic performance. I had to go with it. I couldn't think of anybody else. Thought of a lot of other great performances, but nothing that could match Christian Bale. So yeah.
I mean, you really can't go wrong there. Like you said, um, yeah, that's definitely between the book being one of those books that you should probably be reading if you're thinking of being a writer in that kind of genre of horror, or if you're just looking for a good movie to watch that talks a lot about consumerism, has some pretty interesting messages behind it. Both of those good picks.
Yeah.
So I almost went with the movie Identity for this actor.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody who hasn't seen that film, go ahead, check it out. It's about a person with multiple personality disorder before that trope got kind of played out at a hotel, and some bad things happened. But I went with one of my favorites. It's also a adaptation from a story that I believe is only like 5 or 6 pages. It's not very long. I am going with the 2007 film starring John Cusack, 1408.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah, it is one of my most favorite films. I love the way that he plays this like descent into insanity, and it's really only supposed to take place. I think it's the first hour that he's in the room.
Yeah.
So it's about this it's about this guy, he's a ghost hunter, and he goes around and writes all these books, and like he's just not doing too well as far as sales go. Nobody's taking him seriously or whatever. So he's looking for his next big thing that he can write about. Oh, excuse me. And of course, he looks up this hotel, and he gets to the hotel. And the owner there of the Dolphin Hotel, I believe it's the owner or the runner or something like that, whoever is the curator of it. And he's like, yeah, you could stay at any room in the Dolphin Hotel, but you can't stay in 1408. You just can't do it. And he's like, no, that's the room I'm going to stay in. And so like they have this little spat back and forth of like, is he going to stay in this room? Is he not? Like if something happens, like it's not any fault of the Dolphin Hotel. It's all on him. So he winds up going in there, and he experiences a lot of just strange things. And I feel like there are not enough movies like this where there's just that like play on what reality is. I mean, they do that in like Inception and a few other films, but not to the extent of like a horror movie like they do for 1408. So just the way that everything just kind of shifts, and his descent into that madness, and then you get to the end of it and you realize that there was literally just an hour, and it's like, well, how much long, like, is he like in the room forever, like he can't leave, or like is it really just going to be overnight, and will he actually make it? And by the end of the movie you're like, no, this guy's lost.
Yeah. Yeah, I've only seen it. I saw it when it first came out, and I haven't seen that since, but I definitely remember enjoying that one a lot. I wish Samuel L. Jackson had a bigger part in it, but whatever. Uh, no, that's a good pick. That's a good bit. John Cusack, underrated in my opinion. Identity. You were gonna go with Identity, but Identity was a good fucking movie too.
Yeah. Yes, that one I believe was 2003.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let's jump on to the ladies. Let's go back to the ladies. Best actress, like I said, I was going to talk about Jennifer's Body again, and I'm going to write here. I can't believe I'm doing this because I know she always gets a lot of hate on the internet. I think the overall Scream Queen, not Scream Queen, because Scream Queen is someone being pursued and attacked by an evil entity. But you know what? In this sense, we'll call her a Scream Queen. I don't know if you can think of any of her different names. Fine. Megan Fox in Jennifer's Body. I think if I really look at this decade and I think about standout horror performances, there's a handful, but like I said, just kind of the renaissance this movie has gotten in the last few years, and I knew it would. I she's a fucking powerhouse in that movie. You know, it's almost like she's kind of taking the stereotype of what people were making her out to be in the public as this sex symbol and almost poking fun at it as she's playing this teenage girl. Clearly she's like in her fucking mid-20s in the movie. um, but like I feel like this was almost like a little bit of a revenge movie for her on like a personal level. I don't know that for a fact, but she's definitely, I felt, bringing a lot of emotion to the role that maybe is coming from outside sources. And I'm not going to say too much about, because I just, talked about Jennifer's Body a little earlier, but start and finish, full on character arc is just playing this promiscuous teenage girl who gets possessed by some fucking creature. I don't even know what it is anymore. I can't remember. And like all the way to like the final battle between her and Amanda Seyfried is just such a fun thing to watch. I just feel like, if she maybe kind of hung around in the genre longer, maybe she'd, I don't know. I don't know. Like, it would be kind of cool to see Megan Fox do more movies like that still, or if she did do more movies kind of post Jennifer's Body. But when I go back and I think of the decade, she definitely stuck out to me. And it's definitely a personal opinion for me. Some of these are kind of like, logistical opinions and just based off of merit. But like for me, I don't know, just something about that role, something about that movie. Yeah, Megan Fox, Jennifer's Body.
I'm surprised they haven't remade that film yet. They have going on and everything. I mean, it would still remain relevant. I mean, they can make it even more violent than it already is, to be honest.
All right.
But we got a lot to cover today, so moving on. I am gonna go with 2007's Wreck. For those of you who have zombie film. So I am going with the female lead here, Manuela Velasco. She is in Rec 1, 2, and 4. I don't think she's in 3 because there's a completely different focus. But she's in the rest of them. At least in the first one, I feel like her acting is just like top tier in that one. You really feel like the raw emotion that she has in this film, to the fact where it's like if something like that were to happen, there would be somebody acting like that, and I feel like it's a little bit more realistic than some of the other roles I've seen where people are in zombie movies and like some weird stuff happens. But what makes Wreck so interesting is not only is it a zombie movie, it's also a movie about demons, because the demons basically turn everyone into zombies.
Yeah.
And then you have like the head zombie, so it's kind of like a hive mind kind of thing. So you have like these weird hive mind demons that will just turn everyone into zombies. Stuck in this apartment complex, and it's quarantined, so you can't leave, because if you leave, they're just going to gun you down. But like you don't want to stay, because then all these zombies are going to come get you. So it's kind of it's almost, or maybe I guess you could say that it's a claustrophobic kind of film, because it's not that you're in a small area, but it's like no matter where you go in this film, you know that you are just kind of enclosed. And the further and further you get into the movie, the less places that you can go. So it's basically the same kind of tension that if you took The Descent, and instead of like someplace in a cave where the sun can't get you or anything, you're in an apartment building, and your options continue to dwindle as the number of people who are living around you continue to dwindle. So just like the way that she's able to portray her fear and the confusion of like what's going on and how can they get out of this situation as it escalates, I feel like at least in the first one it's pretty dang believable. And it's one of those films that I feel like it doesn't get enough credit. Like there's definitely a giant following in the horror community for the movie, but I feel like outside of that, a lot of people aren't as aware of it. And they did like an American
Yeah.
version of the film. I can't remember what it was called though.
Quarantine.
Quarantine. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. And I guess it just didn't do as well. I haven't seen any of them, so I don't want to say one way or another. I'm just going off of what I heard. But uh, I have watched the 4 films, and the first one is just the first. I would say the first one and the second one, because they did the same thing that Halloween 1 and 2 does, where they just you could sit down and watch it back.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So
All right.
that is my pick for actress.
Cool. No, definitely fun franchise. Final two. All right, let's go with our best director here. Like I said, Saw would be mentioned again, and when I think of the 2000s, I think of Saw. It's one of the probably standout, right slap dab in the middle of the decade, 2004. I was a junior in high school, which probably means the same for you. This James Wan to me has gone on to have an incredible career, both in and out of horror with things like The Conjuring, um, Annabelle, Insidious, which I don't think like a lot of those he's directed. He's like, but had a hand in producing and writing, especially with the sequels. And then he's gone on and done a Fast and Furious movie, and now he's done 2 Aquaman. You know, the second one hasn't been released, but Aquaman. But to me, it goes back to Saw and how just genius that crafting this movie was. Just getting actors in the film also that like, and still getting a theatrical run. Like Danny Glover was kind of at the tail end. He's still acting, but he kind of was at the tail end of like a run of like post Lethal Weapon movies. Carrie Elways, who's in there, or Carrie Ells, I can never say his last name, but he's in there as the guy who infamously cuts his foot off. Yeah, like it was kind of like this small little cast of known actors, and it's in just this little kind of isolated room. And like you were saying with the cinematography,
Yeah.
such a well crafted beat by beat thing. I mean, I'm not going to go too far in the nuts and bolts. I'm just going to talk about like the landmark this movie has made. I mean, we're still talking about Saw, like the sequels. A lot of people like some of the sequels. A lot of people like not a lot of the sequels. A lot of people like all of them. Like some people don't even care for any of them. I think there's a handful of the sequels that I think are still really good, and I think, but the majority of them, like the back half, are just not that great at all. But like I said earlier, good for James Wan and Lee Winnell for getting like royalty checks off this thing for the rest of their life. It's just he came out. I don't want to say he came out of nowhere because nobody ever comes out of nowhere with a movie, but like it felt like James Wan came out of nowhere with this, and it's just such a fun flick. And I go back to it. Like I said, I go back to it a lot. I love to. It's that kind of movie where once it ends, you want to rewatch it and just pick things apart because it just like the villain Jigsaw. It's a puzzle. It's a movie's a puzzle piece. And the kind of grisliness of the fact of cutting limbs off kind of like scares you going in, but it is that really good mystery that you kind of piece together in the first one. And you do kind of feel the budget at times. There's a lot of budget constraints, but it falls by the wayside because it's just such a good story and so well crafted. So James Wan is my director of the decade.
Yeah, tons of good stuff still coming out with more good stuff.
Yeah,
you can't go wrong. I mean, some of the movies when you have a that
excuse me while I walk around.
When you have a that long of a movie library under your belt. I mean, some of the movies aren't going to be that great, but like you said, with some of the Saw films, they're not as good. I don't think any of the Saw movies are on the same level as the first one. I mean, definitely if you go a step down and have like a tier 2 list, there are a good number of films that would be on that. There are some that are really terrible that I think a lot of people like a lot, but I think one of the biggest things with the Saw franchise is that they did a lot of things after that film that weren't done in mainstream horror films. There were other horror films that have done stuff kind of like that beforehand. during and after. But the way that they devise some of the stuff, and then just like the engineering for some of the different death traps that they had, I thought that was a pretty interesting touch. But speaking of death and weird sorts of things here, oh, I'm definitely cutting that part out. So this next one, it was very hard for me because this director has come out with a lot of things during this small time that we're talking about here. I'm going with Ji-woon Kim. You may know him from A Tale of Two Sisters, The Good, the Bad, Weird.
Yeah.
Probably one of the best films I have ever seen. If you haven't seen this film yet, you need to rectify it. I Saw the Devil. Hands down. I remember when that movie came out. And again, some very fond memories. I believe the first time that I picked this movie up to watch it, I had picked it up from Pleasant Street Videos, which is no longer around.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, but it's from the town that Tyler and I grew up in, and they had a lot of really cool foreign films that just were there, and if you talk to the owner, he always had like some kind of like cool stuff coming in. He was really passionate about everything, as far as physical media goes, and trying to be as diverse as possible. But man, I saw so basically, for the people that saw Parasite and that were blown away by that film, I feel like that level of just understanding how to write a film, how to present a film, how to film it, like everything about that film, I'd had a hard time not putting it as my best picture of.
Whoa. We're doing best director.
Yeah, no, I'm saying I had a hard time of not putting it on the list for best picture.
Yeah, so you're saying.
Yeah, so I have something else as the best picture. This is for the director.
Okay, I got you. I thought
no,
you were
this is
birds with one stone.
No. This is strictly talking about the director here. Yeah, so Jin-Woon Kim, probably pronouncing that name wrong, but between I Saw the Devil and then the other two that I mentioned, A Tale of Two Sisters, The Good, the Bad, and the Weird. All three of those films are really good. The Good, the Bad, and the Weird is not a horror film, but if you want to watch a film that is really good on character study and directing, or I should say misdirecting the audience to believe something, Ji-woon does a very good job of putting that together in that film. But just the way that the action sequences are put together and directed in I Saw the Devil, and the way that there is not a scene in that movie where I feel it's not emotionally driven. It's a very emotionally driven film. And to be able to sit down with the rest of your crew and being like, this is my vision, this is how I want it to look, and have everyone else be able to work with you and translate everything onto the screen, so everybody else can see that vision as clearly as the director sees. Maybe there's some other stuff that he wanted to do that he couldn't see or get done, but as far as just putting everything together and being able to direct that film the way it was, and then to come out with those other two films, which are like just on the same level. I mean, he's gone on to do a whole bunch of other stuff as well that I feel like he's one of the directors where I feel like people just need to sit down and watch everything he's made. And it's
yeah, no, because all right, I will confess this here on the show. I have not seen it, and I know I need to see it. And I've seen snippets of what makes that movie great.
Yeah,
and so.
But you've seen Paris
by season two of Hot Genre Topics, I will have seen it.
I'm holding you to that. We'll come back and talk about it.
Okay. All right. Well, here we are. We're at the final. We're at the main event of the entire 10 episodes. Well, I mean, for this, I don't know if it's the main, but whatever. It's the main event of this show, of this episode. Um, Best picture of the millennial era of horror, basically. You could argue the 90s maybe as well, but in picking this pick, I can't sit here and say, again, this is kind of like a personal pick for me, because I can't sit here and say like it's the best movie of that decade. It's definitely up for debate that there's better movies, and there definitely are. But when I think of a horror film that has stayed with me to this day since I saw it, and I reference in my mind when I'm in when I'm home alone in the house at night. I'm not home alone in the house at night really anymore. There's a baby sleeping, but I just remember like being incredibly creeped out from leaving the theater and going home till right now as I record this episode. But I've just been creeped out by 2008's The Strangers.
Okay.
Just again, maybe not the best of the decade if you look at the broad, scale of everything that had come out, but I just like people creeping in your windows, people, and then home invasion creeps the hell out of me, and creepy masks and people that just want to do you fucking harm for no reason is undoubtedly one of the most scariest things for me. Because your home is your safety net. It's where you're supposed to feel safe, and someone coming on the outside to do you harm and kill you for no apparent reason, just, oh my god, man. And that's what this movie is. There's no crazy outlandish plot. I don't know. There's rumors that this is based on a true story. I don't know what's for fact and what's not, and I'm sure there is something like this that has happened in anywhere. But it's Liv Tyler, and I forget the other actor's name, are this couple coming home from some sort of get together, or they're staying at some house. And I guess the kind of the backstory to the two of them is he proposed to her and she turned him down. She wasn't ready. So they kind of have this weird dynamic in the house. But all of a sudden, it's like 3:00 in the morning. There's like the doorbell rings, and it's just somebody like asking if someone's there, and they're like, you have the wrong house. And all of a sudden, these people, 3 people in masks, are floating around the house, just spooking the hell out of them. And there is this incredible scene that will haunt me to this day, is where Liv Tyler is in the kitchen by herself. Camera's just kind of off. It's almost in like a wide, straight on wide, where you can see her in the middle ground. And in the background, you don't know how he gets in. One of the guys in the mask, the man of the group, there's 2 girls and a guy, walks in and just kind of watches her. And there's no sound. I mean, there's the sound of the house and like a fire going, and, her having a sip of water. And it's almost this feeling of, she's just kind of standing there, and he's just off in the distance watching her. And it's so fucking scary. It's so simple, and it's so goddamn scary. And, of course, maybe by the tail end of that scene, she gets that feeling that she's being watched. And, by the time she looks around, the person's gone. And that movie builds and builds and builds to what you think, which you would probably think would happen. They eventually make their way in the home and terrorize the hell out of them. And this movie got a summer release. I can't believe a movie like this got released in like May of 2008, because this does not have a happy ending. Not most horror movies don't, but there is kind of like that, oh, that was fun, even though it was scary. This does not have a happy ending, like at all. And the most creepiest line from it is, where she asks, why did you do this? Like, why are you doing this? And they look at her and just go, because you were home. That is so fucking chilling to me. Like, it couldn't have been them. Like, they didn't have to answer the door. Like, you go back to the beginning, she didn't have to answer the door. And it's because she answered the door that they went with them to terrorize and kill them, to give it away at the end. But that is just so fucking, oh my god. But The Strangers has just stuck with me all these years, and I would be pretty pissed if I didn't put it for Best Picture. So there's my case.
All right. Mine is a little bit less serious than yours. I had a hard time picking this one because the other one is more, well, not even more. It is mystery action, so I decided not to go with Old Boy, which, man, just great film. But I went with another film that is kind of just on that fun level. Itchy the Killer,
Nice.
2001. So we're going right at the start of where we can go here. Yeah, Itchy the Killer is just a fun film. There's a lot going on with it, but I mean the hero, if you can call him that, it's just the it's weird that it's a horror movie because I feel like it's more like a action film than anything else. But I mean, there's a lot of dark pieces to the film. Lots of gore, lots of just not appropriate situations. All very much just like all around. Like if you were like, hey, you want to like watch like a weird Japanese horror film from like the early 2000s where like everything is just off the walls bonkers, this would probably be the movie to start
Yeah.
people. It's just it's a lot of fun. Um, it doesn't leave. It's not haunting. It's not like The Strangers where it's just like you're like, oh, okay, like we went there. It's kind of like a, oh, okay, like this is where we're at now. This is what's going on. So you can have some fun with it, and I like the fact that you picked The Strangers because it just shows how broad of a spectrum you can use with horror, and the different kinds of elements that you can put into it that will really strike the audience different ways. So yeah, for anybody who hasn't seen Itchy the Killer yet, go ahead, pop it on after this show if you got time. If you want, I mean, we got what 24 films today that we've talked about. If you haven't seen
Yeah.
them,
We
go ahead.
talked about a lot, dude. Let's run over our list real quick before we go here.
Sure.
All right, I'll go first. Best costume design, I had The Descent. Best visual effects, I had The Cell. Best sound design, I had The Others. Best adapted screenplay, Bubba Hotep. Ooh, my phone's dying. Best original screenplay is Jennifer's Body. Best cinematography, Let the Right One In. Best supporting actor, Tony Goldwyn, Last House on the Left. Best supporting actress, Naomi Harris, 28 Days Later. Best actor, Christian Bale, American Psycho. Best actress, Megan Fox, Jennifer's Body. Best director, James Wan for Saw. And best picture, The Strangers.
All right. So for me, I went with costume design, Pan's Labyrinth by Lala Hoyt. VFX, I went with both Cloverfield and The Mist. Sound design, The Happiness of the Katakuris, 2001. Adapted screenplay, we're going with Let the Right One In 2008. Original screenplay is Planet Terror from 2007. Cinematography is David A. Armstrong from Saw 2004. Supporting actress and actor. So we'll go with the actor first. Nick Frost as Ed in Shaun of the Dead, 2004. Actress is Sherry Moon Zombie from House of a Thousand Corpses, 2003. Actor John Cusack in 1408. Again, one of my favorite movies. Actress is Manuela Velasco in Wreck, 2007. Best director, Ji-woon Kim from I Saw the Devil. And then best picture is 2001's Itchy the Killer. So those are those picks. Nice. 24 movies for y'all's enjoyment. If you haven't seen any of them, check them out.
All right. As you can clearly see, some time has changed. Well, it doesn't look like where you are, like time has changed. You look like you're in a dungeon.
I gotta for next season, I gotta get some kind of like a reflector or something so I don't look like Nosferatu over here. I look so pale.
Yeah, we had to obviously this will be adjusted in editing with some sort of cross dissolve. I don't know, but like we got to the end of our countdown, and then my daughter woke up. So, but we're back just to kind of wrap things up here, because I did, right, me or you, I forget who said it. We had a little promise to people who watch us that we were gonna maybe talk about what's next for the show. And you and I, behind the scenes, have been talking a lot about what we want to do, because honestly, as you all maybe tell, because we've done YouTube Live and maybe there's been some hiccups every now and then. We're like fucking experimenting with this. So, but we stuck to our goal of 10 episodes, and we did it. And there it is, right there in the bag. Well, not in the bag yet, but we have some plans we're going to take a little hiatus, and I know that scares people, but we have some plans, and I'm going to throw it over to you, my co-host. What are some of those plans?
So some of the plans, we're going to take a step back, look at what we have available as far as resources and how we can allocate them to the show to make it a little bit more interesting for y'all. So one of the things that we were talking about is setting up a Patreon. I won't go into too much detail as far as what we are planning with that, just because a lot of things are still not 100% solidified. So I don't want to say something and then we launch a Patreon and someone's like, "Where is this? You've lied." But we are going to be making I think the biggest switch for everything is going from the YouTube Live to pre-recorded shows.
Audio
and
video.
Audio and video.
Yeah, so we're gonna have a podcast platform. So if you can't catch it, you don't want to sit through looking at our faces.
Yeah.
You can just listen to us.
Yeah. So we'll have the audio versions up for every episode, starting in season 2, and then we'll have just the regular pre-recorded episodes on YouTube. And then for the Patreon, one of the things that I can promise for the Patreon is that we will have live segments here and there. Obviously, as support grows and the tech that we have available to us gets better, we can start doing more live stuff. But we want to make sure some like the kinks that we had in season 1 here don't continue into season 2. So that is kind of like the best alternative that we've come up with, so we can continue to give you all quality shows and episodes and bring in all the hot sauces and beers and everything else like that, and not have images where I'm frozen for half the screen or some kind of weird audio problems happens or something. So yeah, we're planning a lot of cool stuff, maybe even some merch and stuff. If y'all are into that kind of thing, we'll figure it out. Yeah, I'm not quite sure how many other episodes we're gonna have for season 2. We haven't really solidified a number, so that's one of the other big things. Will it be 10 episodes? Maybe. Will it be less? Will it be more? Who knows?
I think it's gonna be more.
Yeah, well, there you go. It's gonna be more.
I'm fucking down. I'm fucking down.
Yeah, we got there's a lot of content out there, and between him and I, we watch quite a bit. I mean, like I said, we covered what 24. So in totality, if I'm going off of the average of what we've done for season 1, that is over 220 220 different films and TV shows that we've chatted about.
Yeah.
So that's a lot. That's a lot of content, and we have a lot coming.
No, I appreciate you doing that, because I was not keeping track of that at all.
Yeah, I'm not meaning to toot our own horns or anything, but that is an impressive number for 10 episodes. So, and then I guess we'll put out some polls as well to see what everybody wants to see coming into season 2. Like, do you want more conversations, like mailbag conversations or anything like that.
Yeah, we should do like viewer mail and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like on our live stuff, we always have people contributing to the conversation. So dude, that'd be fucking sick.
Okay.
No, I think we can do kind of a little bit of everything. And I mean, wouldn't that be cool if HGT, what if we called it like HGTV, kind of like the network, but it's fucking taken. I've always like thought of that for the last few months. I'm like, HGTV.
We would need hopefully we had a lot of support, because I feel like that support would be bailing us out of jail.
Yeah, dude. We'd see what the true fans are. No, like what if I don't know, what if we maybe, I mean, this is a stretch and you've talked about it more than I have. Like, what if we get our own little hot sauce going on?
Yeah. Let us know what y'all think of getting our own hot sauce if y'all would like.
HGT certified hot sauce. I don't know, cool shit like that. We've like, like I said, to kick things off, we're just kind of experimenting here, and like a few people watched and a few people got it and a few more people, and like, I don't know, I really appreciate everybody that just kind of like strangers that just have tuned in from across the country. I mean, some of them you knew, I know. Nobody really I know, but well, I don't know, maybe like who knew who was watching, but there's definitely some people you knew that definitely watched. But no, it's been cool to kind of connect with people through this show.
Yeah.
I've literally had like DM conversations with people that were fans of this show. So we definitely think there's a possibility to just keep growing our audience, and we want to keep doing that, because if you guys think it's fun and want to hang out with us and drink beer, guzzle hot sauce, and talk horror movies once a week, or once every other week, I don't know if that's going to change, but then let's just keep the party, let's turn this little soiree into more of a rager. I don't know.
I mean, we got 10 subscribers this season, so we had 10 episodes. That was one subscriber an episode, which is not bad for a new show, I think.
Yeah, no, it's in a sea of stuff. Yeah, no, it's been pretty cool. All right. Anything else we should, before we say farewell? Not farewell. Bye. See you later, I should say. I don't want to scare anybody.
Well, I guess we should plug everything. So, I mean, you got something going on next week?
I do, and it's weird because like here, this thing's ending for at least like the next few months or so, and I'm also for good signing off on my little podcast, Tyler GeanerikC's Basement. I got a little touching episode with just myself talking into the microphone, dropping. This will air on Sunday, so tomorrow, I should say. But we're not taping on Sunday, but just to reveal everything that's going on. But yeah, no, I'm just kind of doing a big farewell episode, even though it's not really farewell. I'm just not, I'm just kind of, I'm like Jerry Seinfeld. I'm walking away. Well, it's before the show completely tanks. That's it. I've done everything I need to do. So, it's bittersweet. I love doing the show. I loved getting on and talking to filmmakers for the past couple of years. I loved getting on and just having a topic and talking with myself. So I'm ready to try other things. And one of those other things, obviously, being the next step for this show as well. So, tune in. And if you haven't listened to a damn episode of The Basement, maybe start back like 2 years ago before you listen to the last episode.
There's plenty of episodes to go around.
Yeah. What about you?
I'm actually going to be dropping an episode. So I was trying to get a solo episode out last week, but we had the ice storm, and then I had no internet for like 3 days. So that was pretty cool.
Did Ted Cruz help out?
I don't know. He probably like hopped on a plane or something and was like, "I'm out of here. Screw these people." I don't even know. I don't pay attention to the Texas politics here. If anybody is a fan of that stuff, I'm sorry. I mean, I feel like most of the Texas politicians are kind of idiots. We'll leave it at that. I don't want to shoot myself in the foot any more than just.
Yeah, we're about to lose subscribers now. Or
Like, how dare I love Governor Abbott. Yeah, so I'm gonna be dropping an episode probably Thursday, so it'll be out by the time that this episode airs.
All right.
But basically just talking about what I want to do with my podcast. I know it's not on like a very consistent basis, which is perfectly fine for me.
Yeah, it's hard. Don't worry.
Yeah, it's more work than people think it is, to do a podcast. So doing a podcast plus trying to like get my writing finished and start subbing out short stories. That's like a huge main goal this year for me, is getting some of my short works out there, getting my first, at least one of my novels published, and then I have 2 blog posts that I'm going to be releasing this week as well. So check out the blog page for those. One is a recap of 2023, and the other one is more kind of like an inspirational message, because I don't write those every I don't write those enough, and I feel like a lot of people that have been starting to sub to my blog, that's the kind of stuff that they're looking for. So outside of the Necro Diaries, which I have not forgotten about, I have 2 more posts about that. I just need to play the new Dead Space, and then I can write that stuff. So yeah, at least 2 blog posts coming up, and then another episode of the Generic podcast. You can look forward to all 3 of those things. So
sick, dude. This dude's churning stuff out. I'm taking a little vacation.
I will put it out there for anybody who's listening. One part of it that I'm really excited about, because I'm tying my TikTok into some of the stuff that I'm doing for my podcast. So for the whole month of summer, I'm doing Monster Summer. I will be talking about other things on the podcast, especially if I have like guests on and everything. I want to talk about some other stuff, but for those people who are interested during Monster Summer, I'm going to be at least covering all of the Godzilla films, all of the Gamera films, and the cartoon that they're making, the anime that they're making, just coming out this year. And a whole bunch of other like kaiju and monster films. So if that's something anybody on here is listening to and is interested in coming out and talking about, there's that too. So I guess I'll drop that nugget here.
All right, dude.
Yeah,
sweet fucking deal. All right, so do we just say bye?
I guess we'll just. Yeah, I mean, we don't have any like cool outro music yet. I guess that's something else we'll work on, is intro and outro.
Yes, dude. That's why we're not doing live on a regular basis, so we can have like a cool fucking like intro and outro music. So, but this was pre-taped. We could probably put one